of this how-to video is to explain all the techniques, the basic techniques and the more advanced techniques that are involved in transitioning fast in between targets. That's one of the ways, next to moving fast from one position to another, to actually gain tenths of seconds and ultimately seconds per stage in a match. Before we talk about the technique of transitioning from target to target, there are a couple of preconditions I have to explain. The first is trigger control. The second is recoil control, accuracy control, and especially calling your shots, and the routine of shooting target arrays in a specific order. Those are the preconditions I'm going to explain one by one. And good trigger control implies that for your specific gun, you know exactly the amount of pre-travel that you have to remove to hit the wall. You understand how much pressure you need to put onto the trigger to get past the wall and fire the round, and the amount of reset required for you to again hit the wall to fire off your next shot. How to achieve fast splits is by understanding these phases, and when you engage targets, to remove the pre-travel, fire, the gun cycles, and you do not let the trigger go back into its resting position, but you go back to the wall to fire off your next round. The second precondition that is very important as far as transitioning is concerned is the recoil control of your gun. Now, again, this is also dependent on the type of gun, the type of ammunition you use, the power factor you have, and also personal preference, because there are multiple ways of gripping the gun, different techniques of gripping the gun, holding your arms, locking in your wrists towards each other. I'm not going to go too much into grip, but recoil control oftentimes and a lot is also controlling through the grip, controlling the gun and the recoil of the gun. Ideally, whether or not you shoot with a dot or with iron sights, the objective is that the gun moves up and returns to zero in the briefest time possible. So I'm exaggerating a little bit, but basically this is what the gun should do. The faster it gets to the 0 point, the faster you have an acceptable sight picture, and the faster you can again shoot. The next precondition we're going to talk about is accuracy control, involving the technique of calling your shot or shot calling. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of questions, especially from new shooters, on what calling your shot, what it actually implies, how it works. And I'll discuss the basic technique on this target. Calling your shot implies that you have good trigger and good recoil control, and you have an acceptable sight picture, which is based on a good zero of your gun, whether it be iron sights, whether it be a red dot, meaning that where you aim with your iron sight or your red dot, that's where you shoot if you have good trigger control and good recoil control. Calling your shot implies that when you aim at the target, and the target, for good reference, is not the entire target, but actually the A zone. This is our real target, when you aim at the target and you have good trigger control and good recoil control, that the shot will arrive where you intended it to arrive. If you have poor trigger control or poor recoil control, the shot will go off either low, to the left, right, or up high. And if you do not know where the shot arrived, this is where it also will impact your points and your time. Oftentimes you will see pro shooters fire a third shot on a target very fast after the second shot that they fired. And why is that? Because they know that they did not hit the target where they intended to hit the target, and that's why in a split second they will shoot a third round or even a fourth round on the target, making sure that they have their points. So basically, that is shot calling. You aim with good trigger and good recoil control. You go for the acceptable sight picture on the target, and the target being the A zone, firing and knowing that's where I wanted the shot to arrive. And this process goes very fast. You might think that it will impact your shooting a lot, but once it goes from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind, you will see that you will have very fast and accurate shots. Another precondition which is very important as far as transitioning fast from target to target is that you have trained either in a dry fire or in a live fire scenario or setting, shooting an array of targets. As a general rule, if you are right-handed, we shoot from the left to the right and from the low targets to the high targets. If there are steels involved, in general, we first shoot the steels and then the rest of the target array. So in this scenario, with this specific target array, what I would shoot first is the steels, bam, bam. Then I would transition to the lower target, shoot that, then move up to the left target, and then to the right target. Obviously, the way you transition from target to target is also dependent on the stage briefing, whether or not you shoot on the move, whether or not you shoot from a static position, from a low position, from a high position, over a barricade, and so on and so on. But the basic and general rule is that we shoot first the steels, then the paper targets. We shoot from low to high and from the left to the right. This is something that you also need to practice. Again, in a dry fire context and especially also in a live fire context, is that, for example, if you would have 4 targets, 2 below and 2 up high, that you train yourself to always shoot it in the same fashion without you having to consciously think about it. It should be subconscious, meaning that you will shoot low, up high, from the left to the right, but there's an exception here because you would first shoot the target on the right and then actually move up in one smooth movement. This is also an important precondition because if you engage target arrays and you always shoot them differently, you again mistrain your mind and especially your subconscious mind, and this is also where you can gain fractions of seconds in stages and in matches. Another talking about target transitioning just in general, another technique that is important is defining the distance, the range from you and the target. These are very close targets, which means you can act explosively and very fast, and also your splits are going to be very fast. You will aim, but it's to a lesser degree due to the distance. If you are further away from the target, you need just that tiny bit more time to acquire your sight picture and to fire your shots and make them count. These preconditions and each separate technique need to be understood and integrated into your training routine, preferably moving from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind, in order to transition fast in between targets. Because if you don't have good trigger control, you do not have good recoil control, you have not trained yourself in the technique of shot calling, and or you shoot target always in different flows, it's going to be very difficult for you to optimize the technique of transitioning in between targets as fast and as efficiently as possible. There are actually three important sub-techniques related to transitioning fast from one target to another. The first is the recoil management. The second is eye movement and getting an acceptable sight picture. And the third is your orientation towards the target, and especially how to get there using your legs and your knees. Oftentimes, when shooters need to engage in this scenario, I'm going to focus on these two targets in front of me. If they need to engage these two targets, what they will do is the following. They will engage the first target, bam, the gun will recoil, charge, they will get another sight picture, fire the shot, the gun will cycle and recoil, they will stay on target until it goes down, and then they will move to the next target where they will repeat the same. This is what I call the linear transition. You move in a straight line from A to B. Why? Because actually you get a third sight picture, which actually is unnecessary. Why is it unnecessary? When using the technique of shot calling, you know when the second round is fired and the gun cycles where the target was hit. And instead of awaiting the recoil to settle and to go to zero and then moving, a fast transition implies that in the time that you fired your second shot and the gun is in recoil, that in that motion you will actually bring the gun up to the next target. This will not go from A to B in a straight line, but you will actually move in a curve and then go to the next target. It might appear on first glance that this will actually impact your time in a negative way, meaning it will take longer, but in reality that's not the case. So this is something that you need to understand as far as fast transitioning is concerned. The principle that when you engage a target, 1, recoil, goes down, 2, recoil, and in that movement, go to your next target. So do not wait for a third sight picture to then move to your next target. This is an important principle to understand. The next principle to understand is what you will see with many shooters. They will engage the first target, and then the whole body will move to the next target to then again fire, where they will acquire 3 side pictures to then move to the next target. Again, if you want to improve your skills, the objective is when you fire your second shot and you know where it hit, whilst firing your second shot, you will already use your eyes to zoom in, to focus on your second target and acquire your acceptable side picture in there. And the gun will follow the eyes. In the first scenario, what a lot of shooters do is the gun and the eyes stay together, and then they will engage. Or even worse, first the gun will move and then they will focus to get an acceptable side picture. Again, both scenarios losing valuable fractions of seconds. So the first principle, understanding that when you fire your first shot, it's going to recoil cycle. You fire your second shot, it's going to recoil, and in that movement you will go over. And in the same movement, you will already move your eyes to the next target, and the gun will follow the eyes. The gun will follow the eyes, and you can re-engage your target. So again, 1, 2, and 1, 2. 1, 2, and in the meantime, I will go to the next target with my eyes and shoot the target. These 2 principles are very important as far as transitioning fast from one target to another, whether or not they are at a very close distance like this or further away. If they are further away, you just need just a tiny bit more time to acquire an acceptable side picture to engage your targets. Another important point related to fast transition is your body's orientation towards the targets you want to engage. Meaning that here I have these two targets in front of me, and I have to shift from the left side to the right side, which implies that I'm gonna get into my natural shooting stance, and I refer to my core position in my previous videos. And to avoid the following, that I'm gonna, whilst I move and transition to the next target, that this happens. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that the gun actually wiggles back and forth. To avoid that, I'm not going to turn from my hips, but I'm going to turn using my knees. So I'm already, my knees are already bent, and the objective is that your front body is oriented towards your target, meaning that try to get low, and instead of doing this, is when you cycle, you move, you will actually turn with your legs and especially your knees. So you will do this, and this will avoid seriously and significantly the wiggling of the gun. So don't do this, but there are multiple videos on YouTube that have drills in them to train transitioning from target to target. What I found is one of the most efficient and also the easiest, which you can do in a dry fire setting as well as in a live fire setting, is the following. The starting condition is I'm going to be engaged with that target, with the first target. What I'm going to do is I need to train my eyes to move to the next target after my second shot and acquire an acceptable sight picture on that target. Which means that I just shot, and on the second I already move my eyes to the next target where I'll do the same. And I will repeat this again from this target to the next. So here, second shot, I will move there. Here, I will engage. I will already look to the next target. Move, 1, 2. So the technique is a technique that you need to learn in a slow manner. It will take time because you need to reprogram your conscious mind. And if you practice it enough, it will go to your subconscious mind and you will become faster. So first start slow, 1, 2. You will already look to the next target. Same thing, 1, 2. You will look to the next target, move your gun over, 1, 2. And this is what you will repeat multiple times until it gets into your subconscious mind. And you can actually use this without even thinking about it. This is how you transition fast in between